Hi, this is Jack Westman for ESEA.net, still here in Romania for DreamHack Cluj. Joining me this time is Hiko from Team Liquid, who just got eliminated from the competition by Ninjas in Pyjamas. Spencer, commiserations first off the bat. That was probably a heartbreaking loss, I imagine. What are your initial thoughts?
We just always start slow. I think that's our biggest problem is, every time we start CT, we always end up going down big. And I think we ended up actually winning pistol against NIP. We took the 3 rounds, and then we went down like 3-8 or 3-9 or something. So, we have to figure out a way to establish some dominance early on CT. We were trying some pushes early that weren't working. We were trying to play backs early that wasn't working. Towards the end, we finally managed to get 2 rounds, I think, after pistol, so it was like 10-5. I think we're still a pretty new team. I think this is only our 3rd LAN together. We're still trying to fill in the problems and figure out exactly what's going wrong late round. And I think with James helping out, with me and Eric actually trying to work with everybody, I think we're getting there. It's a slow process. That's what we're trying to do.
All right, well, we'll talk about the NIP game in a second, but yesterday, I want to jump back to yesterday and talk about the Virtus Pro game, because obviously that was another close game. You really took it to them. You went to overtime and then lost 19-15 in OT. What went wrong in that game? Was that much the same as today, or Virtus Pro a different beast?
So I think NIP and Virtus Pro have very different styles of play.
Yeah.
Virtus Pro is very good with using their nades. Their timing is their timing is just amazing. And NIP is kind of the opposite, where they probably are the closest to an American team that is in all of Europe.
Right.
They don't really have these like really intricate smoke and flash takes. There are a lot of just going stuff on the fly, walking out through smokes, and just trying to out-aim you. And I thought we would have actually matched up pretty well against NIP. I think if we would have had, as I said earlier, I guess we're talking about Virtus Pro now, not NIP.
Either. Take it away.
Virtus Pro is like, we'll just say they're the opposite of NIP. So we had a very hard time trying to adapt to their early nade takes. Their mid game was a lot better than ours, and sometimes it's hard to adapt to a team that you very rarely get to play.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we played them a couple weeks ago in PGL, and we will play them again in a couple weeks at CVLAN, where they're in our same group. So it's just a grind. We're just trying to adapt, and I think we're getting better each time.
Okay, well, now let's definitely talk about Ninjas in Pyjamas, the team you just played. Obviously, they're a tough team for anyone to face, but they've had their ups and downs. They went through a long down streak, and recently they've been looking pretty good again. How did you feel going into the matchup versus NIP? Were you confident?
I think yesterday people asked me which team I'd rather play, either Titan or NIP, and I think I feel like I still would say NIP.
Really?
The vetoes. The problem with NIP and us is that their maps are like the exact opposite of our maps. So their good maps are our worst maps, and our good maps are their worst maps.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they had the higher seed, and they picked to choose 3 vetoes. It ended up coming down to either Cash or Mirage. And I think if it was Cash, we maybe would have had a better chance. I think we were a lot more prepared on Cash for this event. It's just unfortunate.
Could you have beaten them in a best of 3 where the veto was more in your control?
I mean, I think we both have I would say we have a pretty deep map pool right now. It's just unfortunate that since they did have the 3 vetoes for the best of 1, it was pretty much out of our control. We didn't really know what they were going to play.
Yeah.
But we tried our best, and that's really all we can do.
All right, well, let's talk about the tournament overall, because you were in Group C, which a lot of people considered to be the group of death. It was you, who else was in there? NIP,
Virtus Pro,
and Titan, right? To what extent do you kind of chalk this up as being, we had the hardest group, we can't beat ourselves up too much? I mean, is that a factor in it for you?
For me, no. I mean,
No?
At the end of the day, I think James is very correct in saying this. You have to beat the best to become the best.
Yeah.
So even though we did have probably the hardest group that is here, it doesn't really matter, because he would have had to actually winning a tournament and dodging a team. Some people can say like, you just got lucky you didn't have to play TSM, or you got lucky you didn't have to play NIP. Well, this time we would have had to play NIP and Titan since we lost to Virtus Pro, and I think it still is not. I don't like the excuse of saying we had a group of death, because really, that's great. Our group is hard, but we would have had to beat the teams anyway somewhere down the line.
Yeah. Okay, and the next thing I should talk about is that you're quite new to this team, and you've kind of alluded to the fact that Virtus Pro and NIP kind of beat you in areas where chemistry and experience carries them through. Do you think, given time with this roster, you guys will improve, and how much better can you be?
I mean, I think even if you look at how we play online, a lot of our rounds are like really grindy. We try to, we don't really have these really intricate, strategies.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of mid-round stuff. So I think once we're able to, get even better at doing the mid-round stuff, it takes a little bit away from the dread having to call mid-round stuff. We'll all do it on the fly, with James helping as well. I think like that's where most of our time is going to right now. We're never probably going to be that team that has 8 different set takes on a T side of a map.
Right.
We're going to be the team that maybe a mixture between Virtus Pro and NIP, somewhere in between.
Okay, just a couple more questions before I let you go. You're one of 3 US teams here at the event. We've also got Cloud9 and CLG in attendance. US teams are looking better. Obviously, the fact you've got 3 teams here it speaks for itself. But what's it going to take for you guys to win majors? You look competitive. Cloud9 had a great run earlier in the year. Americans are looking good, but to actually win the whole thing, how much further do you have to go?
It's a hard question. I'm not really sure. I think, as we saw Cloud9 multiple months ago make those 3 finals, it seems like they're still trying to find their footing, to get back to that form. As far as like us and CLG go, I think it's just my team is really fresh. My team is very, I don't want to say new, but I guess the roster is new with me on it and with James on it. So I'm hoping just like with the experience, even with CLG, like when their players play to their fullest, like JDM, he plays amazing sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think like we just need to have some kind of base for consistency. I think consistency is like the biggest problem in NA. Like even me at this event, I didn't play personally that good at this event. So once people find their footing and once people actually, we don't have to play on these ISO monitors.
Right. Yeah. You have a real issue with those?
They're terrible.
Right.
The computers here were not that very good, and the monitors were very bad. I hate that excuse. I'm not going to say that's the reason why we lost. It's just worth mentioning that, unfortunately, people who play on like high resolutions, you have to switch to something lower because the FPS it's not good enough.
Is this one of the benefits, so going off tangent a little bit, there's all this talk of a players' union. Is that something you'd like to see brought up, kind of standardized hardware across tournaments, even in the face of sponsorships?
I would say it doesn't have to be standardized, but there has to be like a certain level of like a baseline. It could be better than that, but it can't be any worse than, that line.
Right.
And, whether this would be above or below, we'd have to see. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you get used to playing on BenQs, and you come to an event and you have to play in an ISO. It sucks, but
right.
Everyone has to play on it, so.
Yeah, level playing field.
Yeah.
Just a little bit lower standard, right? Last question before I let you go. What are your take-home points as Team Liquid from this event? What are you going to improve going forward?
I think we learned a lot of new stuff. We learned what breaks down our rounds. We learned I think our CT side was like the biggest wake up for us. We tried to play very passive, something that we could do a lot versus NA teams. We could just let them execute and not have to really worry about getting like sandwiched or getting killed in the back. And both NIP and Virtus Pro both kind of pushed our CTs to the limits. And this is the same thing that happened at PGL. We would try to play a little bit too passive, let them throw all their smokes, and then try to execute. And we wouldn't get in their face and try to like break or disrupt their strats. Right. So I think that's something that we would definitely need to work on. Just getting a little bit more comfortable, getting a little more aggressive on our CT sides. I think that honestly, I think both against both teams, NIP and Virtus Pro, if we were able to win more CT rounds, I think both probably go in our favor.
All right. Well, commiserations, Spencer. Always good to talk to you, and best of luck in future. Do you want to run through shout-outs, sponsorships, and stuff before we go? Friends, family.
Of course. You know me too well.
Obligations. Yeah.
Shout out to all the Liquid sponsors. Obviously, Liquid as an org for always supporting us. They've been very good to us so far. Shout out to all the fans, Hiko homies out there, the family of all of myself and the players, and of course, a shout out to my mom. Every interview, shout out to my mom.
As always, like clockwork. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Thank you very much again, Spencer, and for everyone watching at esca.net, stay tuned for more coverage here in Romania.